incredibly important skill. It was an incredibly important skill. But even today, I just don't like it. And I've spent the last month or two, I didn't need to network this last year really, because I brought people here. And then through LinkedIn, all these people keep showing up, and I'm connecting in with LinkedIn with all these people. So I didn't really need it. So I got invited to certain things and little peer groups and stuff like that I really liked. But this last couple of months, I looked at it, I was like, where are the good networking groups? Because it's really important. And there's kind of two pieces to me in the networking area. First is connection systems, and then second is engagement systems, and they work together. So connection system is an effective outreach communication system that you enjoy. Now, you could do this without networking at all. You use social media party, use other people's networks, you get on stage, there's all kinds of things you can do. But networking is really an amazing thing. And I believe it's a skill everybody really needs to develop, but it's not what you think it is, I think. And there's a lot of people talking about this. And when I meet somebody like Richard and I look at his group that he's involved in and ambassador for, I feel like he's got it. And there's a different way to approach it. I don't know, I'd like to turn it over to you a little bit, Richard. You want to talk about kind of how you see it? And well, maybe first you want to talk a little bit about your own background and, CEO space and kind of what you do.
Yeah, let's find a place to begin. My first lifetime, this lifetime, I was an electronics engineer. Then I graduated, I got a BS degree in business management. And if any of you have one of those, that's just what it is. It's bullshit. I learned how to go have a job. Never heard the word entrepreneur. Then I graduated chiropractic school, moved from New York to San Diego and spent 30 years there. And you mentioned CEO space, and Rich is here. Rich is one of our legacy faculty members. He handles a lot and just shares a lot of his knowledge, wisdom, and information. And Larry just became a member recently. I had a very famous, very well-known practice in San Diego. And as my buddy Tony Robbins says, this is not to impress you, it's to impress upon you. Where I was, 6:30 News, morning television talk show for about a year, San Diego Tribune, Los Angeles Times, multiple stories, PBS special. And I heard about this conference, this business growth conference, and I said, I don't need this. I was famous. I was 24 years younger, and I actually believed what the press said. That's dangerous. Well, over the next 9 months, my practice doubled. And the funny thing, Larry, is I've never put it through this lens, but it was because of networking. It was because of networking and outreach. And we'll talk about some of those things today and how to do that. And I heard an expression. I was on another networking event yesterday, how bizarre, or whatever it was. And a woman named Jen Duplessis said something, and I wrote it down because it was so profound. At least for
She's
me.
terrific, by the way.
She's an amazing lady leader. She said, your goal is to be in demand, not on demand. So, and somebody wrote something here from Stephen Covey, prioritize your schedule is wrong. Schedule your priorities. So it's brilliant. And how you live life. Yeah, you're all here for networking, believe it or not. Yeah, you're here to hear perhaps some wisdom from Larry. Maybe you'll connect with something I say. By the way, hang around. I got some amazing giveaways and gifts for you, from books to programs to a free mastermind. So hang around for a while. Networking is one of the fastest ways to grow your business when you know how to network and you know how to do it. I'm curious, I can't see everyone here. Let me see if I can do that. There we go. Who here, no, now I can see many of you, cameras on or off. How many of you play with joint ventures? Just raise a physical hand. Don't click the thing on the bottom. All right. So I want to share with you, thank you. I want to share with you how I grew my business 24 24 years, 24 years ago when I first participated with CEO Space. We created joint ventures. The organization's 30 years old, and Forbes and Inc. say that it is the #1 business conference. They say it's the one you cannot afford to miss. That's pretty cool. And part of the reason they say that is the way we do networking. And the way when I say we created joint ventures, that's a pretty bold statement. We were teaching it 30 years ago. Didn't have the language back then, but that's what it was called. Boys and girls, it doesn't make a difference what your business is. I'm going to tell you 2 stories relative to this. When I got back, I said, no, who can I work with? Remember, I was a chiropractor at the time that is in the same space, meaning improvement in quality of life and not competition. That's another whole conversation. If you step into competition, I mean, you may as well get off all these calls. Competition sucks. It never worked. Too many people live in that place. And in my opinion, that's what's going on in the world today: scarcity and competition. So I sat down and I said, okay, who's in that space? So I called massage therapist. I called acupuncturist. I called nutritionist. And the essence of it was, hey, I got patients I can't help. You got patients and clients you can't help. Why don't we work together and serve a larger cohort? Well, it cost me a lot of lunches. I took a lot of people to lunch. And we started referring back and forth. You say, well, I'm not in the quality of life space. Well, everybody's in quality of life space. You just may call it something different. It got to a point, boys and girls, that I called an orthopedic surgeon. And I said, Jack, I don't remember his name, same thing. So I took him out to lunch. It got to the point where he called me and said, hey, Richard, you want to come in and watch surgery? Well, shit, I'm a chiropractor. What the hell do I know about surgery? I freaked out a lot of nurses because you got a chiropractor in a surgical suite during spine surgery. But guess what? The patient got better. And what's your ultimate goal? But to serve more and more people. So now let's take it into a totally different realm. Because some of you may not be doctors. You may not be in that space. Buddy of mine named Mike, at the time, was a home inspector. At the time, the average income from a home inspector was $45,000, $50,000 a year. Mike reached out. He said, who can I talk with? Who knows when someone's going to need a home inspection? So he reached out to pool contractors, landscape, paper, wallpaper people, carpenters, HVAC, heating, ventilating, air conditioning. He turned his business through referrals, through networking, sorry, Larry, through joint ventures into $1 million business. He retired, and now he teaches people how to do this kind of business, meaning how to create these joint ventures. There's a whole bunch of people out there doing joint ventures. So I give you those 2 stories so you can understand it doesn't make a difference what you do. Reach out to people. If you're living in scarcity, step out of it. Embrace abundance. There's enough to go around. You'll find people out there who want to play with you. You all want to serve more people. Again, if not, what the hell are you doing here? Why are you up at whatever o'clock you're up? Why are you spending an hour here? You want to serve more people. That's your mission. And if you're not wanting to serve more people, go find something in your life where you can serve more people. Quite frankly, I mentioned over 9 months, my practice doubled, and I shut my practice a few years later. I just shut it down. I live in Taos, New Mexico. I already owned 80 acres out here. I came out, and I've been serving entrepreneurs ever since. That's my calling. That's what this is about. And the first gift I'm going to give to you, you all have clients and customers. Yes? Yes? If not, we need to have a different conversation. Okay. It can cost, the average is between 5 and 25% more to acquire a new client than to sell or resell to an existing client. So you want to keep your existing clients. Yes? Would that be a good thing? Okay. There's a great book on the market, and I know it's outstanding because I wrote it. It's called The Secrets of Creating Customers for Life. If you, and here's a link to it, just put your name and email address in there. If you do even 10% of what is available in that book, you are going to increase your bottom line, which will allow you to take better financial care of yourself and your family. So it's, you can either download the free PDF or spend a couple bucks on Amazon. Doesn't make a difference. The content's the same. So you can get the ebook, the trade paperback, or the PDF. Larry, I got a question for you. I hear you say you don't like networking. Where does it come from? I'm curious because in the gazillion Zoom calls that I'm on, and I'm sure everyone here is on these, it's the first time I've heard someone say that. So I'm curious, where does it come from?
So the way I'll explain it is that I love meeting one-on-one with people and getting into a deep conversation with them. Specifically, I love being in peer groups with people where I believe in the power of the real mastermind groups. They're just not hard to find, but the real one, I have one, it's real. I mean, it's the power of the group as one mind. Networking to me is a tool to get somewhere, of going out and meeting people and so on. It's a stage in a company's evolution. So for me right now, I'm doing it for a very specific purpose because of where I am. But in a year, the presence that I will have and we'll have as a company through YouTube and LinkedIn and a few other channels as well will be so large that it won't be an efficient, effective tool to be using at that point. That's the reason. So I think people want to move from connection to attraction if they have a big ambition for the company, because it's not a really efficient way to build something. Now, owning a community, running the community is. So that's my idea of networking.
I love
where
it.
I'm
Thank
going.
you. It's a new perspective, and I submit that this is networking, whether it's one-on-one or one-on-many. And whether people are attracted to you, and the law of attraction, all that stuff is wonderful, but you can't sit on your ass and just wait people, to show up. You've got to get out and connect with people. And that's a great segue into something else about leverage. When I was practicing chiropractic, and obviously I don't know everybody here, I don't know what you do, when you're dealing one-on-one, which I did as a chiropractor, you can't serve a larger frame. One of the areas in which CEO Space excels is helping you move from the one-on-one, and again, I had that experience, into the one-on-many. This kind of venue is one-on-many. And if any of you have a desire to shift and grow your business exponentially, I'll put some contact information in there, and you can get in touch with me and we can work with you to do that. The challenge is, when I attended my first CEO Space program about 24 years ago, the woman I was with, my then wife, is an attorney. And some of you will be able to relate to this. She said, Richard, I learned how to be an attorney. You learned how to be a doctor. How come no one teaches us the business of what we do? Can you relate to that? You may be masterful at what you do. Where's the background, the underpinning of that, so you can deliver your service to more people? That is one of the myriad things that CEO Space is about. That's why Rich Carr is on our faculty. He delivers profound knowledge, wisdom, and information. And we sit there and say, well, shit, I never heard of this stuff. These are not the hidden secrets. This is, most of us don't have exposure to that. I'm going to set the politics aside, but it's like we're going on with this war in Russia, which is not a war if you check with the Russian leadership. They've renamed it, and they're keeping the information from their people so they can look at it differently. By the way, I need to look to give you, I watched a scary movie last night, and I'm going to share the link with you. Oh, it's called The Social Dilemma. Larry, you talked about,
I have seen it. Yes.
it scares the shit out of you. You said, oh, there's another social network there. I got to get on it. Boys and girls, you watch this, The Social Dilemma, and you'll understand why you almost don't have a choice but to be on Facebook and LinkedIn and all that shit. And it's a very powerful movie.
So I'd like to address a couple of things in the networking idea. So let's talk about definitions. There's phases, like I said, there's connection, connecting, and there's attracting, which are different phases in your development. On the connecting side, the goal is fill up your calendar. Now, filling up your calendar can happen in 5 ways. So one way is direct outreach without spamming people or using sequences or automation. And there's a way to do that very effectively. Second is what I call the social media party, which is a different way to approach filling up your calendar. It's very different. That's number 2. Number 3 is what I call virtual rooms. So whether they're this kind of a room or a digital room, you can do it the same in both places. That's the traditional idea of networking to me, is virtual rooms where you're talking to people and you're in these little subgroups and breakout rooms and stuff like that. So that's part of that type of connecting. And then the next one is, well, it's network threads. So this is a way to get to people who are hard to get to, like if you're selling corporate. So we do a lot of this in my other company, but the idea of finding people who know other people and how to work that with it actually working. And then the final way is get on stage. Now, I don't look at get on stage as attraction, because to get on stage, you got to go wander around and go to networking things and meet people who run the networking groups to get invited. So you did what I would call a get on stage strategy, even though I'm the one who offered it to you. But the get on stage strategy is still, attracting. You got to get there, meaning you got to be out connecting. You got to be doing all these things. So that's kind of how I define these things. And what's most important to me is people are doing this intentionally. You're not just showing up for everything just to be there. There's a reason you're there, and how you do it and what happens after is really the key, and how you run those one-to-one meetings later is really, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. That stuff is what really makes the thing go. But the second part of it is you have to like doing it. So you've got to find something of those 5 reasons. Find the one you like the most. If you're phenomenal in a digital community and you get Discord really well, you will fill up your calendar to the max with the right people you want to talk with, just being in Discord groups, if you know how to do it. If you love going to community networking events, there's one that's been going on for 4 days now, or whatever. I've been popping in and out of it. David Faber?
David Fagan.
David Fagan. Yeah, David Fagan's event. It's a great event. It's a great event. If you love networking and meeting 5 million people and doing your little elevator message and you get your 5 minutes, and that is amazing. It's like feeling like 1,000 people going through this thing. So that piece of it to me is really where a lot of people get hung up, I think. Part of it is they're doing things they don't really like to do, and then they don't stick with it, or they're not doing it effectively.
Correct, Larry. And again, I want, in CEO space, we talk about plussing, adding something. No one wants to be corrected or redirect. We use an expression that Walt Disney created, which is mean adding to it in a positive way. It depends on who you want to speak with. It's triage. And when, the biggest thing, following exactly what you said, is show up and serve. It's one of the reasons David and I are best buddies. It's the same model as CEO space. It's show up to serve. Nobody wants to deal with you if you're just going to suck the lifeblood out of the room and you're going to say, me, 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 me. When you show up, and Larry, it's how you and I were met. Phil referred Larry to me, or me to Larry, doesn't make a difference. We had a conversation. And I don't know if I said exactly these words, but if any of you and I have a conversation very early on, I'm asked, how may I serve you? Don't show up to get. You're all on a gazillion of these Zoom things, Larry. And Larry, I don't know if you were the whole thing with David, but it was 7 hours over
I
3
don't know if
days.
anyone, because that was like 28 hours or something.
Yeah, yeah. And God bless him, because he landed from the UK, from London, Sunday night, and started this thing 7 a.m. his time. That's commitment, that's passion, and he serves an amazing organization. And if you want to know anything about it, just let me know. The point is, when you show up to serve, don't show up. And I'm not watching this chat here, but I've seen a couple of things. I love it, Larry, because no one here has said, buy me, buy me, buy me. Here's what I got. Here's what I got. Here's what I got. And it's an invitation when you go on any of these networking events, be there to network. And I point to Rich again, because he's right here in the middle of my screen. He shows up just to serve, and he's working with September, who's the CEO president of CEO Space, helping her take CEO Space to the next level. And that's profound. When you show up in service, watch what happens in your life. Watch what happens the way people want to be with you. And, you know, I wouldn't have said it, but Larry said, he asked me to be here. I didn't say, Larry, can I come on your thing? That and that shows up again. I credit Jen with saying it. Be in demand, not on demand. So another thing I want to offer you, we've talked a little bit about CEO Space. I'm going to give you a 50,000 foot overview. 3 decades of growing businesses. People have raised in excess of $3 billion using us as a resource. Some of you may know the name Lisa Nichols. She was absolutely flat broke when she became a member of CEO Space. She's now worth $5 million. She doesn't come back and teach anymore. She's one of the most highly requested speakers on the planet in human potential space. She got started at CEO Space. Mark Hansen, Jack Canfield, they got together at CEO Space, created this little empire called Chicken Soup for the Soul. When they sold it for $68 million, the first person they called was a very, very dear friend of mine who's now dead, Bernie Dorman, the founder of CEO Space. Bernie, we got a $68 million check in my hand. So, Larry, what I want to offer everyone here is 1 month free participation in CEO Space. CEO Space is not a seminar. 4 to 5 events every month. Rich led a masterclass a couple of weeks ago, a couple of years ago, whenever. But he read it
Last week, I think.
What was it last week?
It was last week.
Yeah, it all blurs after a while. So this is a gift to you, everyone here, through Larry. So I say take advantage of it, not in the classic sense of taking advantage of something, but it's an invitation to grow your business. Now, what are you going to get there? Networking. You're going to get networking. You're also going to get people such as Rich, or including Rich, who will share their knowledge, their wisdom, their information. You all know that you are a reflection of the 5 people who are your closest circle. Who do you want to hang out with? One of my favorite quotations is from the Talmud that says, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. So how do you see the world? If you see chaos, by the way, it just means you're too close. Expand your vision. If you look through a scanning electron microscope in the middle of an atom, it looks like, you know, craziness. You step back a little bit, you see the atom. You step back, you see the molecule. You step back, you see the organ. You step back, you see the organism. So if you're showing up with chaos in your life, get a different perspective. Step back and see it just a little bit differently. And it's during these crazy times, you know, I think we call this networking or pandemic prosperity planning. I don't know what what title we use for this. You have to do things differently. And I'm going to go back to something I said earlier on, that scarcity doesn't work. If you show up in abundance, now who do you want to play with? If you see someone in scarcity, and depending on, you know, your soul's mission, you may give them money or a sandwich or something. But in business, that's not exactly the kind of person I suspect you want to play with. Well, guess what? The world is simply a reflection of who you are. So if you show up in abundance and know that it'll come back to you one way or another, it doesn't matter. Hey, Larry, I'm going to take a pause here. Who has a question or a concern or something you'd like to speak
Yeah.
to?
So what we like to do is raise your hand. First, we're gonna put a link in the chat around YouTube because this recording will go up on YouTube later if you want to see that. So we'll have a link to that. And then we're also going to put a link in I'm looking for a small group of kind of founding members for the Revenue Climber Expedition that we're going to be launching. So we have a link that'll be coming in if you want to talk to me and see if you're a fit to join that or not. So what we should do is raise your hand in the Zoom hand thing, and we can start to bring you up on the stage, so to speak. And it's not just a question. If you have a question, great. If you have a comment, great. And then what we'll do is we're going to break out into sub rooms. We'll stay on for another half an hour after the appointed time. I don't know if Richard has to go. You can stay if you'd like, but I want to give you a quick format. So the question is, where are you focused right now? What are you working on? Is we ask the other person. And then why? Where are you trying to go with what you're doing? And what are you doing now to try to get there? And as you're listening to people, start to think about how you can help them be another experience in how to get where they want to go. And what happens when you run a call this way is you're not doing your pitch message. You're really understanding where this other person is coming from. So anybody who wants to stay on for the breakouts, feel free to do that.
Larry, I have a hard stop at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
So I can stay around until then. And I just want to offer everyone one more gift. Would that be okay, Larry?
Of course.
Okay. Have any of you ever, well, let me ask it, who has ever negotiated anything in your life? Okay. I want to submit to you that everything you do is a negotiation. You negotiated with yourself. Am I going to be on this program today? The first negotiation you have is with yourself every single morning when you get up. Whether you get up when you're done sleeping or you get up with an alarm clock, your first thing is, shit, am I going to get out of bed or am I going to stay here for a little bit, right? So, but I want to take you to a higher level. What if you knew 7 words which have the potential to increase what you get paid for something or decrease what you pay for something? That would be valuable, yes? I'll tell you a story. Many, many years ago, someone invited me to teach at his program, at his seminar. And finally, we got around to, Jay, how much are you paying? And he mentioned the number to me. And I uttered these 7 words. That fast, Jay said, well, he doubled it. He doubled what he was paying me 7 simple words. So here's another gift. I'm doing a mastermind on the secrets of empowering negotiation in April. It's usually retails for $497. For Larry and his gang it's free. It's going to be 90 minutes to 2 hours. You're going to learn things that will transform your life. I mean, I've negotiated in Nordstrom's and Best Buy. It's not, someone texted me one day, she says, well, she's a coach, she says, I work with solopreneurs. They don't negotiate. I said, what? What are you friggin' mind? And I told her the story that I just shared with you, where someone doubled what he was paying me. You're a human being, you're breathing, you negotiate. You negotiate with your kids, with your partner, with your spouse. Everything is negotiation. So that's another free gift. And Dana, I guess, is that for Larry or for me? It says,
Yeah, which link is broken?
Oh, hold on.
/master.
No, that was a test.
So there's
There
a
it
few
is.
there's a few links in here.
Yeah, I just
So
didn't copy.
Okay.
The last
got it.
link now works.
So we're good. So do we have any hands coming up? And if we don't, what we could do is, so we'll at least have, another 10 minutes here. We can go through some of the comments in the chat here. And if you want to,
Shelley's got her hand up.
Shelley, all right.
It's just an interesting to add on to this discussion. And Richard, I just love what you had to say, and both what you and Larry are doing. I think what I'm starting to realize is, especially in the last 2 years, our life in COVID lockdown, we're really redefining what networking is. We're redefining how we do business and how we connect. It's not just the sales pitch. Here's my resume. Here's my card. I'll call you in the morning. And that's what I love what I'm hearing today. And I love what the both of you offer and have embraced. And those are the things I know I'm looking for. I want this new way of connecting to people that feels like we're helping each other and lifting the conversation. So I want to thank you.
It's completely different. And I think these new systems, like the 5 foundation, 5 principles I was talking about, have preceded COVID. But I think now the pain of this transformation is pushing a lot of people into this new world. Now, I'll give you an example, a concrete example. So when Clubhouse started, I was like, okay, I got to figure out what this is. I just want to know what it is. So I got on Clubhouse right away. And then I realized the way you do Clubhouse is you get on stage, you start talking. Don't ask 5 million questions, have a point of view, get on stage in the right places. So I found Bobby Umar's room, who's now a really good friend of mine, Thought Leadership Branding Club. I think he's got 20, 30,000 members now in this massive community he's created. Well, he had a room called LinkedIn every day, 3 o'clock for like 4-hour marathons, talking about LinkedIn. Well, all these top LinkedIn coaches were in there, like a whole bunch of them, and that's how I met them. So I started getting on stage, and then I got known, and then I met with Bobby, and then I started co-moderating some of these rooms, and then I got a room in his group, and then I met all these LinkedIn coaches who are all competitors, who are all together as moderators. And I met Leah Turner, and I met String, and I met Andy Foote, and I met all of these people that I would not have otherwise met. Simple, right? And then Bobby and Chris Colt and I created a product together, and we ran like a seminar for a couple of weeks and charged, $1,000 or something like this to come in. This stuff's got to happen like boom, 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 all the time. This is the way the world is. It's total abundance. I could think of Chris Colt as a competitor. I don't think of Chris Colt as a competitor.
Yeah, there's no such thing as competition. Again, in my view, we see the world as it is, as we are, not as it is. And competition sucks. It really does. My hallucination is everyone here on your calls, Larry, plays in that vibration. Otherwise, they wouldn't be attracted to you.
Well, this is the idea. And when you build your company from the inside out, that's the differentiation. So there's no competition because you're the only one who could do the thing you're doing, even if you're doing exactly the same thing as 500 other people.
When I moved to San Diego, drove cross country in an MGB, if anyone remembers those, little 2-seater car. And my business training in chiropractic school was go join a networking club. So I knocked on the door and joined the network. I said, we can't have you here. So why not? She said, we have another chiropractor. I said, are you kidding me? There are 3 million people in San Diego. You don't want another chiropractor? And I almost said, well, I did. I quoted Zig Ziglar. I said, that's stinking thinking. I said, that's scarcity. Mm-hmm. And thank God I didn't join that organization. Hey, I want to give you another way to reach me, my email. And if you want to schedule a call just to chat, we can do that. I've still got a couple of minutes. So how else can I serve you? And by the way, it's not just about negotiation or building clients. How can I serve you? Just reach out and I'll be glad to offer whatever assistance, guidance, and mentoring that I can. I've been in this business space for coming up on 24 years, which is scary. So
one of the things I'd suggest to everybody here is you build your brand, reputation, reach, whatever you call it, through anchors and pillars of people who have connected into their own networks and so on. And Richard's one of those people. And I mean, my own concrete example is when we launched the Revenue Climber Expedition in a couple of months, I'm going to be launching it with 12 power partners of people I've been helping for over a year now get business and do all kinds of things, who are extremely interested in helping me launch this thing, who all have big social media followings. Took a year to build that kind of infrastructure, but you build that infrastructure by helping out people who have positions in the right places. It's part of it. So there's a reciprocity in this. So you're getting something for yourself, but you're doing it by helping that other person. And Richard's a really good person to know, and he knows a lot of people.
Thank you, Larry. I want to add one more thing. When I started teaching this negotiation program, I used to teach win-win. I want to invite you into a different spectrum, a whole different realm. There's 4 levels of doing things in life. One is I win, you lose. Most people play in that space. A second tier is I win, you win. And someone said, well, how can you do that in negotiation? And someone wrote boxing. Yeah, there's going to be a winner and a loser. There's some reality to that. In negotiation, if you're only arguing a negotiating price, yeah, someone's going to lose. But there's so many other aspects, and you'll learn that during that masterclass. There's a third level of negotiation, and I use that as a global expression. I win, you win, and people in our circle win. And then I invite you to play in level 4. I win, you win, people we know in our circle win, and humanity wins. How would that change everything you do if you look at through the lens of, does this serve humanity? Now, not everything is going to do that, but on the bigger spectrum of life, how can you serve humanity? And again, just look at through the lens of what's going on in the world today. How can you serve? Whatever your belief is, whether for Ukraine or Russia, is not political. It's just, how can we serve more and more people? That's the space. It's just an invitation to play there. Thank you.
I really like Simon Sinek's podcast, A Little Bit of Optimism, I think it's called. And he was talking about this, I think a couple of podcasts back. And he is very clear that he's here because he's convinced that if everybody can get up in the morning and enjoy what they do and are excited about it and passionate about it, the problems in the world are going to go away. And I guess my offer to everyone, and this goes back to these fundamentals, is, do you have one of those things worked out for yourself? So taking it down to step 4, like Richard's saying, is an exercise. So when somebody asks you, what are you doing this for? Have a clear answer. It makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. And I've never had that except for this last year and a half or 2 years with my other businesses, because the answer was make money, get more clients, learn how to be good at this, or whatever. But I didn't really have an answer for that bigger purpose at all. So we can know about these things, but having it and using it is another thing. So I think find a lot of people are, oh yeah, I know, I saw that TED Talk. And I'm like, well, what's your why, or what's your purpose? Well, and they give, there's a vague platitude, but I'm like, how are you going to do that? I don't know what that means. So we're a couple more minutes. Richard, thank you so much. You had told me before, I know you had to go, you have a a meeting. I really appreciate you doing this. It's been great. It's been great to be part of CEO Space. You know, I've really enjoyed the events and meeting people. I've been pretty active, you know, the last month or so.
Hey, that's an important statement. Participate, not just, this is not for Larry and CEO Space, participate. Oh, you used to live here. It's cool. Let's come back and visit. Research shows that people who participate in events have an 82% higher retention and productivity rate rather than just sitting there. And
I'll give you a concrete example. So I remember talking about virtual rooms, these rooms, and then digital rooms. The first thing I did when I went into CEO Space is I went into the Mighty Networks group. I started looking people up in the group, and I started reaching out to them, not just to get a meeting, but I started commenting on their posts, and I started reaching out to them based on the kind of stuff they were talking about. And then started getting meetings from that, not to get anything out of it, but to build my connections into the community. The digital communities are very powerful and often, I think, underutilized. Discord, Slack, Mighty Networks, Circle. I think learning how to be in those communities is a pretty good skill to have, and it's really easy also. So
I'm going to interrupt you just for
thank you, Richard.
10 seconds. I got a hard stop. Thank
Yep.
you, gang, for playing. Looking forward to how I can serve you. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. So what I'd like to do is anybody who wants to stick in the meeting, I'm going to do breakout rooms of probably 2 to 3 people. I'm not a big fan of speed networking, but I would suggest, and I probably should have mentioned this before, I really believe, take a screenshot of whoever's here and then reach out to people. Hey, I was in this meeting with you. We should connect. Now it's kind of getting a little late for that. So the idea, and I'll put this in the chat as well, is we break up in these small rooms. If you have to leave, you should probably do that so we can get the right number, but thank you for coming. So the first is, what are you working on right now? And then second, oops, I did that wrong. Second is why and what's your goal? Let's put it that way. And then 3, how are you getting there? And start thinking about how you can help that other person. And then I think ideally schedule some time as well, if you have more to talk about. All right, thanks everybody. I'm going to create these breakout rooms for everybody that is left. And we do want to get it into a smaller group so you can have a longer conversation. I think that's helpful. Now, if you don't want to use this structure, I don't care. But I think people like to have some kind of a structure. And this is how I run my own kind of smaller meetings. So let's go. All right. We had somebody just leave, so I've got to move around. Okay, looks good.